I feel like I should try to look over here.
Greetings and welcome everyone to the Authority HOA Hangout live thing that we're doing here. I'm Michelle Stinson Ross, and I am part of the team at AuthorityLabs, and we are going to be discussing Enterprise SEO with a couple of very smart people. But in order to meet and greet them, I'm going to hand it off to Melissa Fach, who is going to be our discussion moderator for the day.
Hey everybody. Well, I'm excited because we have two extremely intelligent people, Carolyn, Shelby, and Scott Polk, and you both will be speaking at PubCon together. Is that correct?
That is
Yes.
what I understand.
Yeah, cool. So if you want to meet them in person and hear more brilliance, go see them at PubCon. Carolyn, let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience with Enterprise SEO?
So about me in general, I am the Director of SEO for Tribune Publishing. We have a lot of newspapers. We have a lot of smaller newspapers, but the big newspapers that you may have heard of include the Los Angeles Times, the Chicago Tribune, the Baltimore Sun. I've got a couple of papers in Florida, Orlando Sentinel and the Sun Sentinel, which is in South Florida. And we've got a number of other ones around the country. We just acquired the San Diego Union Tribune. I've been in the industry since 1994. So in the mid-90s, I owned an internet service provider where we started out doing Usenet News, if anyone remembers that, and point-to-point email. Moved into internet, regular internet services that we're accustomed to today. Started building websites in '95. Got into SEO in like '97. So I've been in the industry a while. Enterprise-wise, I would say the largest enterprise I've been working on to date has been at Tribune Publishing. So I've been in my current position for going on 4 years now.
What was the main search engine in '97? What were
Really we kind of focused, before Google, we kind of focused on Yahoo the most, just because that was where the majority of our customers and the people in town were aware. I know it's a directory,
like
but
if they were going to go somewhere,
they were going to go somewhere, they went to Yahoo. I cannot tell you how many support calls I had where it's like, yeah, my internet, it don't work, and be like, okay, sir, in what fashion does your internet not work? Well, when I go to Yahoo, it just don't open, but my email, it's like, oh, okay. So, but because when I went to Yahoo, it was always a line that was entered or mentioned in the conversations.
Cool. So Scott, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name's Scott Polk. I've been doing SEO for about 17 years or so. Started building websites in '94.
Liar, the web didn't exist in '94.
Yes, it did, because
it wasn't
Al Gore
public.
invented it. Al Gore invented it. And then probably got my first actual SEO position in '97. But I started ranking with the little websites I was building. I was wondering where the traffic was coming from because I used to scour logs like it was going crazy. And found this little engine called WebCrawler, which I believe was one of the first out there that was an AOL project, and it's a couple of universities, and that's how I kind of started learning it. But I used to have fun a lot with net engines and Snap and places like that.
Cool. And what do you focus on now?
We do a lot of enterprise level SEO, but we work with all different types of clients. I actually find enterprise to be the most enjoyable for the simple fact that very large scale websites have very large scale problems, and being able to make minor changes and fixes to the site can actually have really, really nice results for clients. I've been in-house for many, many years. I was the SEO at Edmunds.com from like 2004 through 2008. And we took that, quadrupled the traffic in less than 4 years. But yeah, enterprise level stuff is always fun. A lot of issues, a lot of politics, but again, making changes to the site is really good.
Cool. Great. Okay, so should we just jump into questions? What do you think the biggest hurdle is to getting things done in regards to enterprise SEO? And could you kind of give us a perspective of in-house versus consultant?
Sure. Who do you want to answer that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Who would you like to answer that?
Whoever wants to go first.
I'll let Carolyn go first because I've spoken for a long time.
Okay. All right. So the biggest challenge to getting things done, I think, is getting buy-in from the appropriate parties. I'm very lucky in that the last year and a half, I've been actually part of the technology group, which has made getting things done infinitely easier. Whereas before, I would be lucky to ever actually speak directly to the developers. I'd have to go through the product group. I'd have to, state my case, explain what the business advantage is to getting things fixed, and a lot of times, well, how much money are we going to make if we do that? In the publishing world, I can't always make exact predictions, and with Google, they could change the algorithm tomorrow. I have no way of saying, I guarantee you, you do this for me, it's going to make you X amount of money. So it was often, it was a fight just to get things on the planned out. We had a stretch where things would get backburnered. But since I've been part of the technology department, I meet with the developers literally 3 times a week. We talk all the time. I have a much easier time getting things done. It's been great. But getting that buy-in from the people who need to do the work and convincing them that it's necessary is really the most frequent roadblock that I encounter. And I'm sure that Scott can tell you, when you're consulting, it's similar. You guys need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, if the people that you're talking to are in the marketing department may not have the pull it needs to go to the developers, the technology department, and say, hey, we really need you to make this change to the server. And they're going to be like, what? No, we're not going to do that. Or, no, you can't have a WordPress blog because it's insecure, so you have to go put it somewhere else, or you have to put it on a subdomain, or you can't even have it on the same domain at all. You have to go put it on Blogspot. Like, who does that? But there are, I love them dearly, my developers and my technology peoples, but there are some that just do not want to do anything marketers suggest. So I would say that that's probably the biggest challenge that I've encountered.
So how did that role change for you, or how did you get from dealing with the product people to kind of more inside with the technology group?
I think a lot of it was incessantly whining that my projects were getting backburnered all the time and that they were really important. I have found that being the squeaky wheel does tend to work eventually. I think it was to everyone's benefit to shift me around a little. I've been much happier.
Cool. Scott, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of go along with Carolyn a bit on this one. From my perspective, the biggest challenges with enterprise level SEO of any type is going to be the politics that are involved. Generally speaking, with enterprise, you're going to have department heads that are product managers, and you have project managers, and you have the IT people, and you have dev, and you have design, you have HTML. There are so many different people that have, or stakeholders that actually have a say in everything that goes on, that you really kind of have to learn to build relationships with all of them. When I was in-house, I was one of the most hated individuals there, for the simple fact that I had executive level buy-in completely, so what we wanted done needed to be done. So what I did was a lot of drink buying for the different teams, bonding if you want to call it, and then on top of that, I just really challenged them to find ways to do things. I just told them what the end result needed to be. And because of my technology background, I really kind of sided a bit more with UX and design and what the dev people were actually working out. One of the favorite things I like to say to all the people that I work with is there's a technical solution to any SEO issue that we need. So you don't have to worry too much about design and UX.
Great. Scott, do you think people can run a solid enterprise structure like SEO like using a consultant, or do you think they have to be in-house?
No, I think you can do one or the other, but I think the ideal solution, in all honesty, and I mean, again, that's the position I'm in, is to have both running. So currently, right now, I have about 5 different enterprise, what I would call enterprise level clients, where I am the outside consultant working with the in-house teams, where I help them fill in the gaps, I help them push things through to upper management when it needs to. I come in as the quote-unquote expert when their internal teams aren't listening to them. So I give them the support that they need to be able to push things through. So it's a very synergistic type relationship. And I found, honestly, in most cases, that actually works better than one or the other. The simple fact you've got an entire team to support. If you're in-house, you have an entire team to support you, what you need to do. And the politics is one of the biggest issues.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so my next question is, say you have a company and they really believe in SEO, right? But they want to have a properly structured SEO team. What recommendations would you have for them to set things up so they're more effectively? You want to start, Carolyn? Or is it more just everybody work as a team and try to, so you don't have the politics problem? What would you say?
If you didn't have a politics problem, that's really hard to answer because I think it's so unique to businesses individually. I think in my situation where we've kind of got an umbrella corporate staff that runs the platform that all of our properties run on, but then we have 10 newsrooms around the country that are generating 500 to 1,000 pieces of new content every day. In that situation, like in Carolyn's Fantasyland, Carolyn has a team here, and then we have people embedded at each one of the properties to be physically there for someone to turn around and go, hey, I'm working on a headline, I'm working on this. What do you think? Or how do I look up X, Y, or Z to find out what words I should use, that kind of thing. We also have an analytics team that is separate from SEO that is available to pull data for us. So I'm not even sure I'm giving good information here. What it comes down to is you need people that can do all of the work. Whether you have 10 people or 100 people or 2 people is really going to depend on the staff you have. What are their skill sets? How well do they work together? And how much ground do you need to cover? Is it more reasonable to divide that work up amongst a number of people, or can you have one person do it? Does that help?
Well, I think what are the specific roles like in an SEO, like an enterprise SEO? Like you mentioned, you have an analytics team, but do you have like a full-time analytics guy that's kind of constantly pulling data for you or helping you answer questions, like content-wise, like who's helping your writers target their content, their titles, or structure their articles appropriately, or what specific roles are there within an enterprise SEO team that you should be looking for, or that you should for sure have, like, and what do they do, specifically, I think.
Okay, so we have SEO analysts who actually work with each of the properties, and because we don't have, I don't have enough people right now to give one to each property, they kind of tag team all of the properties, and we make ourselves available to coach the individual newsrooms. But because there's so few of us and the need is so great, we actually rely on training. So I go out and I provide training to the newsrooms, which hopefully they're remembering and executing. Then there is actually a staff of, I want to say it's between 6 and 8 now, in the analytics department that just generate reports on a daily basis. And they do tell us things like what were the top stories in each section, which section was top. We get month over month, year over year, quarter over quarter, all of these things, and they're generating these reports daily, and everyone's looking at them. So plus they will go ahead and pull reports for us if we have specific questions. We also have a separate enterprise SEO system a tool that we log into and we can run our own reports. So if there is a special section coming up, like a big event like the Oscars was a big event. I actually went out to and sat in the newsroom in LA during the Oscars, and I was there polling data and providing some guidance in person. So yeah, I mean, this isn't. I feel like this isn't helping generally. This is
no,
this is really for.
Well, and I think it's interesting though, because you're almost structured like, and you're in-house, but you're almost structured like almost a consultant or agency for these various properties, as well as kind of the platform as a whole. Would that be kind of correct to say?
I think that's 100% accurate. We do consider ourselves almost, consultants in terms of just providing guidance to the individual properties. Our focus, since we've only been on this new platform for a little over a year, so our focus in this past year has literally been, technical SEO, hardcore. We have to get the platform perfect. Mm-hmm. And it's been an iterative process. But the nice thing about being kind of at the top or the umbrella level is that the changes that we make to benefit one paper, some of the papers are a little bit more active than others. So the papers that notice an issue or come up with an idea that they think would benefit them, what benefits them is going to benefit everyone else too. So we make these enterprise-wide SEO changes, and they cascade out to everyone, and they benefit everyone.
Yeah, but something else you said that I thought was really interesting is the ongoing education for your staff. Mm-hmm. Right? With employee rollover, I mean, you can train a team, but you have to keep up the training because you do always have that.
In the newsrooms, the staff changes fairly quickly, and what happens is sometimes you get somebody that really gets it, and they know, and they can repeat the training to the new people, but with that person leaves, then it's like a case of telephone, and all of a sudden I'm hearing things like, well, Carolyn Shelby said, blah, 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 and I'm like, whoa, Carolyn Shelby most definitely did not say that. They're like, well, how do you know? I'm like, because I'm Carolyn Shelby, and I didn't say that. So you do have to do the training repeatedly, and fortunately, a lot of it is SEO 101 type basics, things that don't change. If you want to rank for this keyword, you must put this keyword in the headline. You must put this keyword in the lead. You must make sure that this keyword and this keyword are kind of close together, not 200 words apart. That kind of stuff. So, but I've got my decks. We go out, we answer the questions. We do phone calls with new groups. We're always at our desks if anyone has to call or I am with a question, and we try to help out as much as possible. The other thing that's nice is the newsrooms pay attention to their stats. We've got Chartbeat in all the newsrooms on big screen TV, so the journalists are very invested in making sure that their stories are doing well. So they're going to go out and check and see how they're ranking, see how they're performing, see how fast they come up in Google for the words that they feel like they should be coming up for. And if there's a problem, I assure you, we'll hear about it real quick, which is also very nice. And the second we're made aware of an issue or aware of not necessarily an actual problem, but more it's not doing what I would like it to kind of situation, we can start intervening and helping and saying, okay, well, let's go make this change to the headline. Let's maybe move the photo gallery and make suggestions that are going to help them, boost them up to where they feel like they should be.
Cool. Thanks. Scott, do you have any thoughts?
Building an enterprise level SEO team. Yeah, the last in-house position I had, which was just a few years ago, actually, we did that, and the team ended up getting to about 50 people under me. That did include the paid search side, but that only accounted for about 10. But we had content writers, SEO analysts like Carolyn would have, a lot of outreach specialists, content marketing, and then also social media people. And since my firm belief is that all ties directly into SEO, regardless of the actual weighting, it's pretty kind of it's important to make sure that they're all under one banner as far as I'm concerned in the department head. When you work with other department heads, what you really want to do is try to kind of single out or find a champion that you can work with that will actually champion the SEO side. But the main thing, regardless of no matter what, you need to make sure that SEO is part of the process all the way through. So if there's a project that is being created or a product that's being developed, project manager comes up, you've got a line item there for SEO. You need to go talk to the SEO department before we even start on this. When you've got it part of the process, then it's a lot easier to kind of move forward.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important tip is talk to the SEO department first.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes.
because I don't know how many projects I've killed over time just because they actually had no absolute use whatsoever.
Yep.
Let's build this really cool app for somebody. Will anybody use it? No. Will it bring us traffic? No.
And that kind of leads us into another interesting question. For these big organizations you work with, what are the metrics that you look at every day, especially the ones that might indicate that someone did something unwise in regards to SEO? So you can see there's been a, you know.
When you look at them every day, I mean, there's a few things you always want to keep an eye on. Webmaster Tools or Search Console, because that's just going to give you a very nice broad spectrum of data. I personally like to look at the way the site just acts in the inches. If you're seeing a lot of fluctuations, so use AuthorityLabs. For rankings, keep checking on that. If you're seeing serious fluctuations, then that could be indicative of a problem or an algorithmic change. And you need to pull back, find out the schedule. Did dev or IT push anything out? Did something change with the servers? Did the code change? And there's a lot of factors that kind of come into that after you roll out, say, an algorithmic shift or something of that nature. But one thing I always check every time I look at a site, this would be weekly, is the robots text file. Why? Because the people love to seem to put up the default one, which is just allow everything so many times. And in the past, I have not checked that for months and couldn't figure out why the traffic was dropping. And it's kind of like SEO 101 in a rookie move, but it's one of those things I now check at least once a week for the client. Especially if you can't get them to lock the file.
Yeah. Carolyn, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, in our situation, because our content changes so much, we can't really track rankings for extended periods of time and have it mean anything reliable. The most useful thing I can do is track accesses, especially search referrals, and see how the traffic's doing. If I notice a major drop in traffic, then we have to isolate it down to a specific section or a specific page. We catch most things just by looking at the traffic levels. We had a situation once where a entire section of the site went from, I think they were doing 600,000 in search traffic a day, and it went down to 6,000. And that was a technical issue. Someone had, they were attempting to install the Yoast SEO plugin on a user-generated section. No, it gets better. And it was a multi-site WordPress situation, and something happened during the installation process that the canonical URL, instead of automatically self-referencing, automatically referenced the next post up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Technical issues.
That was a technical issue. We also had an issue where another section had a similar precipitous drop in traffic, shall we say. What had happened was, because we were trying to be nice people and not lock down the back-end interface too much, we didn't prevent people from adding in their own code, like HTML code, to, let's say, a headline. So a group that shall remain nameless decided they wanted to customize the way the header looked in their section, and they put JavaScript and CSS inline calls in their headline field. So they started out the headline by terminating the original H1, opening a new H1, dropping in a bunch of code, finishing it, and then reopening it so it would close again on its own. And that you might think, well, that doesn't sound too bad, except we have an infinite scroll site, and what that did was break the transporter that changed the URL, so it made that entire section uncrawlable, which made that entire section invisible, which made that entire section fall out of search.
Ouch. Oh. I hope they pay you well. They pay you well for this, right, Carolyn?
I am incredibly well compensated, and I have no complaints.
Good. That's good.
So where's the line with, like, allowing these people flexibility? Like, why don't you just lock the whole thing down? And if they really want their headline to be styled a little differently, you gotta get it built in to where people can't do that. I guess like, where's the line
You know,
and not install, you know, a plugin on a multi-site thing, and you have no idea what it's going to do.
Well,
right?
okay, so the plugin installation, I actually recommended that they install that, but something happened weird in the install. You know, I like that plugin, especially when you're dealing with these were for contributors. These weren't staff reporters that were using that section. So I like the functionality of the plugin. There's just something wonky happened in the implementation, and how that went weird in production and didn't go weird in development, I don't actually know. As far as the locking down the interface, though, so they can't put that goofiness in, I don't exactly know why that got okayed in terms of not locking it down, but I guarantee you after that happened, it's locked down now. So, you know, you try to give people, the problem is we give people enough rope to hang themselves and then say, okay, you hang yourself once, we're taking the rope away. You know,
it's politics.
It's a political issue.
And then they hang themselves.
And then they hang themselves, and then we go, I told you so, and
right.
then, you know.
But you have to let them do it once, at least.
Yeah, you almost because they're, you know, until you prove to them that it's bad, they will insist that it is good, you know, and you have to show them that it's going to catastrophically break things.
Yikes.
So your number one SEO tip would be to read the book, like Winning Friends. What's that book by, like, Winning Friends and Getting People to Like Me or something like that? Like, you know.
I have a book here somewhere. It's
pretty important, to be honest.
Wait,
if you want to move stuff with that many departments, you have to make friends, or at least buy them somehow.
Yeah.
And that there has to be like a no one's better than anyone else. We're all working as a team feeling, you know. But,
well, sure. That's the I guess the feeling you want people to receive from you, but that's just not true. We're definitely better than the rest of the departments.
Yeah. What would Machiavelli do? It's a fun read.
Oh, nice.
all right, I'm going to throw another question at you, and I know we have a lot of audience questions, right, Michelle? Can you tell us, like, what software that you use that makes your job easier or more productive that you can't live without on an enterprise level, even or just personally?
Sure. Well, I definitely use AuthorityLabs.
Well, thank you.
Tracking and ranking. No, absolutely. Firm believer, not just because I'm here. But the major ones that I actually use are going to be DeepCrawl, SEMrush. What else? Link research tools. There isn't a better one out there on that side of it. And then a few other ones. It really just depends on the type. I mean, screening frog all the way down to anything.
Do you use anything to like monitor those robot.txt files, like changes in that?
No, I do all of that manually as just a routine now.
Yeah.
I actually do. It'd probably be good to start up some automation. I love automation, but I also am a strong believer that automation is not a cure for anything.
Yeah.
I need to be able to change the heading tag on every individual page if I want to, or if I need to. But I will automate the living hell out of 10 million pages right off the bat. But I want individual control at the page level every time. Search Metrics has got a great little tool, but it's pretty expensive. It's really good for enterprise level stuff. I have clients that are on it. I love it.
Great. Thank you. Carolyn.
I use Screaming Frog a lot. I feel like at this point they should pay me to be an endorser. I use it almost daily. I use SEMrush for some things. We've got Bright Edge actually, so I use their data cube for reports and for looking up things. There's a nice tool that so once you've set your keywords, if you tell it how much money you make per conversion and what is a conversion, it'll look for pages that you rank maybe not the greatest on and have room for improvement, then estimate how much money you'll make if you improve from, let's say, 8 to 3. And it ties a monetary value to that, and I found that to be helpful with the product people, because I can go say, if you make this modification for me, because right now this page doesn't have a meta description field on it for some reason, and I encountered that like last month. If you give me the dev time to fix this, and if we move this page from 8 to 3 for this keyword phrase, we're going to make $3,000 more a month. So say at this tool, and they'll say, oh, here, you've got your dev time. So I mean, I found that to be really helpful. I probably use a lot of the same tools that Scott uses, and I don't want to be, a shill for people. Screaming Frog, though, I do have to say, as much as I'm not a paid shill for them, I probably could not do my job without it. So I'm a real big fan.
Right.
What's a quick like Screaming Frog tip that you that like not a lot of people may not know, or like a way to use it, or something to look for?
One of the things that I've done is if you set the index or the crawl depth to 0, you can crawl just a page. So I had a situation where I think that I thought for some reason the page wasn't crawlable. And if you run a whole crawl, especially starting at like the home page, you'll get all the pages, and they just might not go the route that you want them to go. If you start at the page that you think is the problem and set it to a 0 depth crawl, it'll only crawl that page. So what I found when I did that is like 3 things would load, and then the whole thing would crap out. So then I was able to take that output and go to the devs and say, remember when I said that I thought there was a problem with this page? I understand it loads on the browser, but I'm telling you there's a problem with the page. Look. And then they were able to see exactly where it crapped out. It's like it reads bop, 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 and then it dies. So what's happening here that's making it die? And we were able to get the problem fixed in an afternoon, and we got tens of thousands back as a result.
Nice.
I'd say 2 things with Screaming Frog. 1, increase the RAM that it uses in the Java console to as much as you could possibly support.
Yeah.
Because it will do it now before you actually run into a large site, and then you can't open the data file. And the second is, I mean, you can take Screaming Frog on the cloud and run it on Amazon Web Services. And at that point, you can run unlimited crawling with it. I still find the DAT files are not as nice. I do find deep crawls a lot better for that, but for your little everyday activities and just do it right from your computer, there isn't anything better than Screaming Frog for that.
Yeah, I've looked at deep crawl, and the price it would have to pay for our gigantic ASP sites is a little steep. And I do so many of these little section-wide or couple-page investigations that it's a lot faster for me to have that on my computer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The price point's definitely a hindrance for a lot of very large sites. But even with the audits I do, if I'm running a large site, I'll do a sectional crawl at a time. Or I'll just basically say, look, you've got 10 million pages. I'm only going to crawl 100,000 as your sample representation.
Yeah.
It's every other page is a template anyway.
Yeah, I definitely, I'll stop things at like 10% and say, this is a representative sample. I'm happy with this.
Close enough.
And before we go to audience questions, I have a question for Scott, since he mentioned he uses AuthorityLabs. I read a lot, and there's this theme out there for newer SEOs. The keywords no longer matter. I want to know what your response is to that.
The thing is, keywords still matter, but I get where people are coming from with a lot of that. I mean, they don't matter like what they used to, especially for on-page. I mean, you have to have a keyword on the page to rank for it. I mean, we used to have 3,000-word articles about the Ford Mustang that couldn't rank for the Ford Mustang because the editors decided to use the word pony car and Stang instead of actually putting Ford Mustang. So it's definitely important. But I mean, if you're working in-house, you better be watching those keywords, because I'll be honest, there isn't a lot of other metrics that you're going to be reporting on. If you're in-house, use any metric you can to show the good that you're doing for the website. And keyword rankings is one of those. And to be honest, I bet your bosses are concerned about that.
You know what I like to use when it comes to keyword rankings? I like the feature that, and a lot of tools have this. SEMrush has it, A lot of other tools have it, but I know that you can get it for free, and with a low-cost subscription, you can get the full version. But seeing the things that you rank for that you don't particularly know you rank for is helpful. So telling people, hey, did you know that we're #1 for pink jujubes? Did you know we were #1 for pink jujubes? How did that happen? I'm not even trying to rank for that. That stuff is fascinating, and it's fascinating for, in my situation, the newsroom editors, and say, hey, this article you wrote about Michael Jordan is actually ranking really well for Dominic's because he's suing Dominic's. Something like that. There's things that articles rank for that aren't necessarily what they were targeted at, and knowing that and identifying those, we can then take advantage of that juice and further optimize it to do better and just kind of shift the focus a little. But how can you not pay attention to the keywords? What people should not do is obsess over what goes into the meta keyword field, and I think people are conflating the advice of keywords don't matter when it comes to the keyword field, and then not using keywords at all or not worrying about the keywords anywhere. And it's not the same thing at all.
Yeah, it's not the same thing about, as you just pointed out, but also the extreme of stuffing your page. I mean, you still have to use those keywords in your text regardless, but yeah, if you're going to stuff and you're going to excessively use them, then that's probably going to get you into a bit more trouble than it's worth. The thing is, whatever people come back and always say, oh, this is the new thing, or the orange is the new black, or whatever, bullshit. It's really not. It really comes down to SEO 101 has been about the same as it is now since I've been doing it. Has it changed a lot? Is everything different? Absolutely. But it is still exactly the same. The principles, the basics are the same as they've ever been.
Yep, I agree. Michelle, do you want to start asking some questions from the audience?
Yeah, we've got several, and these are actually rather technical. David Courier says he's curious about how you handle redirects for an enterprise site with tens of thousands of pages. For instance, let's say we have a domain change or there's a rebuild and you end up having to redirect way too many URLs. Interested in knowing your process.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll start on that one to make sure if it's a site migration from one domain to another, everything needs to be at the page level unless things are changing. I also have a firm recommendation for any client that there are no daisy chaining on 301s at all. So if it's A to C, then it needs to be A to C, not A to B and then from B to C. And then also 100% update the internal HTML to reflect so that your site in itself is not causing 301 redirects to happen. There's potential loss of equity because of a technical issue. There's degradation in the equity that can be passed even on 301s. And the fact is it takes a lot of space up on the server. As far as the how memory that it's going to need to use and how many processes have to run every time it comes in. So you want to limit them as much as possible, but keep them there forever as well. If somebody is linking to an old page, then yeah, I would never remove that redirect. Sorry.
No, I would definitely agree with all of those things. I understand the desire to make it simple and say we're just going to do a bulk redirect to X, and then when it hits that, it'll automatically redirect to Y. But not only is that lazy, that's keeping links to things that don't exist anymore, which is bad. Google's never going to completely forget that old page existed unless you stop linking to it. You can't control what other people are doing, but you can control what you're doing in-house. Keep your own house clean. You fix all of your links to point at the correct address. And if possible, especially if you're doing a site migration, try not to change the URLs too much. It's messy and it's complicated, and it would be so much easier if all the URLs basically stayed the same and you just changed the domain. Why can't you just do that? That would make life easy.
Lines of regular expressions and you're done.
Regular expressions are your best friend, especially with those 301 redirects. So if you can change things even keeping just sections the same, even if, like, let's say it was /sports/Cubs and you needed to change it to /MLB/Cubs. That's that's one line of code, no matter how many pages you had, as long as those page names stay the same, that is one line in your htaccess file. You change everything line by line, it's going to be, those htaccess files execute linearly. It reads every single line until it fires. So the longer that thing is, the more processing time it takes to run through. You got to keep that as short as possible.
And that's per request for the website.
Yep.
Did that answer the question?
Yep, that's great. Thank you. Michelle?
Oh, we've got more yet. What backlinking strategy do you recommend for enterprise SEO? Specifically recommended software, types of links to solicit, number of links? This one's from Brandon Jones.
Okay, so let me get this correct. So what kind of software can help you generate links to an enterprise level client? None.
Yeah.
Not use software to generate links. Use software for research. Maybe use software for outreach. For outreach and management, I'd use BuzzStream. For your own backlink profile management, I would use link research tools. And then there's a lot of prospecting software out there. Ontolo's got a pretty nice one that you can use. But to be honest, the best thing to do is go through the Google search results and pull out your find sites that are relevant, use social media. I mean, your outreach strategy really needs to be evolved. It's not about getting a link from some site that's not relevant any longer. It's really about getting a high-quality link from high-quality content that really is relevant to your site and sends traffic.
I got nothing for you here.
We do lots of links.
We get lots of links. The links are, I got 99 problems and links aren't one, so.
Yeah.
Ha,
I mean,
look at me, I'm cool.
Also, also the other thing as well is make sure that you are working with your PR teams, or if you have a PR agency, work with them. Make sure they're maximizing. It's really a combined effort nowadays. It's not about the quantity as much as the quality of those things.
Amen.
Relevancy is really key. There is no number. I mean, but using an enterprise, you'll find thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, to millions of downloads. I think we lost Melissa.
I think we did too.
We did.
We did.
Power went out.
Oh, the joys of the first day of school for poor Melissa. We do have some more questions, so we can cover until she's back. Let's see. There was a question about, yes, a disclaimer. This was the one that I wanted to give to you guys. There's an enterprise website that we work with which has content behind a disclaimer. The user must accept the terms and conditions to access that content. The disclaimer is a separate page, and we notice that it blocks Googlebots from accessing and indexing the content behind it. What do you guys suggest that we do?
You kind of have to remove the disclaimer.
Yeah, that.
Or you have to whitelist it so Google doesn't hit it.
Yeah, that's going to be the most ideal solution. But yeah, allowing Googlebot to pass through. I mean, as long as, in a case like this, as long as you're not going to be showing something to the bots that the user's not going to see, and they just have to get, whether it's a pop-up or a different screen, whatever it is, and get through it, then you should be okay. But the best thing to do is just get rid of it. If you need a disclaimer on there, then maybe it's a header overlay or something that you put up there.
Well, even the header overlays, they're still going to find, because with the mobile update, we found that anything that was in the, and I'm going to say this wrong, it was reading the DOMs and it was reading our registration panel, which the bots weren't supposed to hit, but they started hitting it. So we actually had to clear the way for them to never officially ever run into our registration panel, because it was indexing the registration panel copy instead of the story copy. So that was a problem. You have to go through really and make it a hard and fast rule that the bots aren't going to, anything that's not a person isn't going to hit that, which may mean that people are getting through accidentally.
Yeah, I guess it really depends. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, yeah, it's going to be a judgment call. Are you going to get shut down by the government if somebody gets through and doesn't acknowledge the disclaimer, or can it be okay if maybe 5% of the people don't hit it?
Yeah, I mean, is it really, how important is that disclaimer to the overall business of your website? Is it a legal requirement posed by law, or is this something the lawyer came up with and said, oh, this will protect us if we get sued? You're going to have to balance it out somehow, figure it out.
Are those your dogs?
Oh, those are my dogs.
Oh.
Actually, forgot I was muted.
No worries.
I thought they saw my cat.
Yay! It's the pet edition of the Hangout. It's a wonder you guys aren't hearing my pets carrying on either. So what would you guys say if the disclaimer is actually necessary? What's the best solution to having it there and having that acknowledgement happen?
Then make sure the bots go right through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can download lists of various user agents anywhere, and if it matches one of those user agents that's a Yahoo bot or Google bot or whatever, then just don't show it, basically.
Yeah.
You can whitelist them right through. It just depends.
Excellent. Looking to see real quick. Okay. I have two websites for two different countries. We have .com, .au, .co, and .nz. So we're talking about Australia and New Zealand here. Both websites have the same content, and the language is English. I don't own the .com domain for the same. How do we solve the issue without changing the content? Multi-site, canonical, how to use? Thoughts, please, and thank you.
I'm not really sure 100% what the question is. Are they trying to rank both sites individually in the localities that the country-level domains suggest, or are they trying to rank globally for both sites?
Unfortunately, they don't say. They just apparently have a duplicate content issue and not sure how to handle it.
Well, I would ask why he doesn't own the .com.
Well, but he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing, but I mean, I guess how sure are you that you actually have a duplicate content issue? I mean, are you having a duplicate content issue in the .com version of Google, or in the New Zealand or Australian version of Google?
Gotcha. So Get Friday. If you could please post a follow-up to your question, we'd appreciate it.
The previous one with the bot deal, that guy's asking about cloaking. Isn't it cloaking? But I mean, I would just say, as long as you're not changing the content that ultimately people get to, the bots get to, then it's should be fine. Am I right to say that?
Yeah, it's all about intent and extent.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with using technology. It's not cloaking if it's just IP delivery. Cloaking is very negative. IP delivery is a great technology.
Google would actually love to get to that content, but
Correct.
you're not letting them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably 101 different technical solutions that you could use without doing IP delivery or whitelist as well.
Mm-hmm.
An entire screen overlay with your disclaimer that somebody has to hit but won't remove. Content's still on the page.
Gotcha. This particular issue, they did follow up and say yes, it's a legal issue that they have to have the disclaimer.
Yeah. Then there's 100 different ways you can solve it technically.
Gotcha. On the duplicate content issue, he says the websites are replica of the same site.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure if that helps at all.
That doesn't actually help. I think what he was asking was, are they? Oh, I've got an echo. Are they duplicate in, like Scott said, in Google.com, or is he having? How does he know there's a duplicate content issue? That's what I think we're trying to get at, and what is the ranking objective?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having the same content in different country-level domains if you're only trying to rank for those in that engine. there's definitely ways that can be very successful. And I mean, we work with clients that do that in different languages, same language actually, with different country level targets, and they're all fine. You may be experiencing issues in the general Google algorithm. I mean, it's an assumption, but you may be experiencing in that. And with that, you just have to, you're going to have to pick one or the other. I guess it really depends on your ranking objectives. What are your target markets? If you have a site for New Zealand, you have one for Australia, and those are both important, then, I mean, those are very, those are valid strategies to be going after by site for each.
Gotcha. All right, one last question. The question was actually posted before our chat began and slightly off topic, but it did kind of inspire me a little bit. Let me read to you what they said, and then I want to specify, because I do want to keep this within the sphere of enterprise SEO. But our viewer says that they've been tasked to promote an international event, and they're kind of just stuck for, how do I get started? The load's all on me, and I'm not even really sure what I need to be doing. More importantly, I think for us, and especially since we're talking about websites with content specifically for one country versus another, but when it comes to a large enterprise, a large event, and you are going to be marketing internationally, are there any particular things that are a little bit different for enterprise SEO when you're talking about international enterprise SEO versus what most of us in the U.S. tend to deal with?
You want to hit this one?
Sure, you can start.
Okay. We deal with quite a few clients that actually have presence all over the world. So this is one area that, I mean, SEO is still going to be SEO. Each one of the different engines or markets you're going to go after is going to be different from another, but still the same in a lot of ways. So your fundamental SEO is going to be pretty much the same going across the board, but you're going to have to look at the different nuances between spelling between, say, British English versus U.S. English. How is ranking in a local New Zealand market, affected by my .com, or do I need the country level domain there? It really comes down to how you set the websites up, and the strategy is going to have to be different for each one of them. Even though the global strategy can be kind of the same, pretty much the same, I should say, you're still going to need unique strategies for every country or language that you want to go after. Whether that's the using the language tag, href language tag that Google likes to see, or at least likes to report about a lot, to making sure that if you're targeting, say, Spanish-speaking countries, that you have to know that the difference between Mexican Spanish versus Costa Rican Spanish is completely different. The way that you talk about a particular topic, the way that you discuss it, the nuances between the slang, there's a lot of variances that you really need to kind of know your market. So coming to the question, I guess, of promotion, it's really just going to be making sure that you're able to contact the influencers out there that can help you promote it. And if that's in a different language, then you're going to need somebody that speaks that language. If it's not, and say you're lucky enough that it can all be done in English, then you're going to need to be able to figure out who you want to contact. And a lot of that's going to be through social influence. So I would look for the top people that are talking about that topic that are geographically located in the areas that you want to promote. It's outreach, in my opinion.
I agree with Scott.
He's just making your job so easy, isn't he?
And you should record my responses for posterity, because I don't know how often you hear that.
No, I'll never hear it in person. It's pleasant to see the side of you, Carolyn.
Double checking one last time to make sure that I did cover all of our... Yes, that takes care of the questions that I had in our Q&A app for now. Chase, was there any follow-up you had?
No, I think we're coming up on an hour, so I think it was awesome. I really want to thank you guys for taking the time to do this, and it was a pleasure to talk to you again. And we'll be seeing you at PubCon, I think. So,
definitely.
Do you guys have your topic laid out? What are you going to be talking about there?
Well, Carolyn and I are actually doing training first day.
Mm-hmm.
on SEO 101 stuff. So, if it's something that people have signed up for, then I guess you'll see us there. If not, I mean, I have all my sessions on Tuesday. I think you do probably as well.
I do think I have all mine on Tuesday. I think I'm done like after the first day, which actually means I can have fun the rest of the week, unlike in years past where I could not. So.
Yeah, so I don't see you stressing out Tuesday and beyond, getting your slides done or anything like that.
Actually,
nice.
I've already got my slides done for my Tuesday presentation. So.
Nice.
I know everyone should be having a heart attack right now because this never ever happens.
It all grows up now.
Well, we've got, is it Tuesday? When's State of Search? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
That's Wednesday. We're gonna do
Wednesday evening.
We're gonna do a little cocktail hour at the Breeze Bar before State of Search. So
nice.
Drinks are on us then. So you should stop by. Hang out.
Well, I'm staying at TI, so I'll definitely be there.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you all. And yeah, have a great day.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the Authority Hangout. We will be updating you on when our next event and our next guest will be as soon as we get everything secured. So have a great day, everyone, and thanks for joining us.